Gantt charts are highly popular for visualizing project management information in evaluating business loads and availability. Once upon a time, such charts were fairly difficult to produce. However, today, I'll be able to show you how to build an easily manageable one from scratch in under 10 minutes using Microsoft Forms, Excel, and Power BI. We're going to start with a blank Excel file in Excel Online and add a form to it. You can look to our previous quick tips for how to do this. We're going to capture at least 3 different key pieces of information: the project name, the project's starting date, and then either the duration of the project in days or the ending date for the project. For this, I've decided to use the duration as I think that's a more common approach. You'll also want to capture any other information that might be important for filtering or grouping. So in this case, I've also added a project type field for types A, B, and C. Now that we have a form for capturing our project information, we need to input some projects. I'm going to throw in 10 random projects scattered throughout September and maybe into October. Once we do this, we'll be able to hop over to our Excel file and see the results that we've put in. Before we move on to Power BI to build our shareable report, we're going to open this on our desktop to get a link so that we can use a web connection to make sure that it stays up to date. Once Excel opens, I'm going to go to File and then click on Copy Path. With our path copied, we're going to launch Power BI and create a new project and get data. To make this automatically update, we will not use Excel as our data source, but instead use a web data source. We'll paste the link that we just copied from Excel, and then we're going to delete the $web equals 1 portion before pressing OK. Once the data import wizard opens, we're going to choose Table 1, which contains our form results, and press Transform. If you're familiar with us at all, you'll know that we sing the praises day and night for Power Query, which is right where we're at. This form uses field names that are kind of ugly in Power BI, so we're going to add a transformation to rename them to project name, project start, project duration, and project type. Once I've done that, I'll press Close and Apply. This will serve as our data set. Once we upload this completed report to the web, it can be refreshed roughly once every hour. We're now ready to build our Gantt chart. To build the Gantt chart, we're going to download a Gantt visualization from the Microsoft Marketplace. So at the bottom of my data visualizations, I'm going to click on the ellipsis and choose to import a custom visual from the Marketplace. Once there, I'm going to search for Gantt, and I'm going to download the second version, despite it having a lower rating, because I'm familiar with it and I like it. In addition to the Gantt report, we're going to add some filters to restrict our Gantt chart to specific date ranges and be able to filter by project type. So let's set up our Gantt chart properties. Project start will go in the start date section, project duration goes into our duration section, project name goes in the task section, and project type will go in the legend section. The Gantt chart's now done, so let's create some slicers to filter it with. First up is a timeline slicer to let us filter based on the project start date. So I'm going to add a slicer and format it, and then drag my start date onto it, and I'll immediately get the timeline. The next slicer I'm going to use will use the project type. So I'm going to do the same thing and set it up, and this time I'm going to drag project type to it. Once I do this, I need to change some of my settings so that it reads a little bit nicer. It's pretty ugly with just 3 little checkboxes, so under the visualizations I'm going to click on the paint roller to get my formatting options. There I'm going to go to General and change the orientation from vertical to horizontal, which will give us some button-looking objects. Then I'm going to go down to Selection Controls and make sure that I have Show Select All option turned on. The result now is a series of buttons that can let me filter the project types on and off. A little more dragging of the borders and we'll get some buttons that look pretty nice. We've now finished the report, so it's time to publish it. I'm going to click on the Publish button along the ribbon and it will ask me where I want to save it to. For now, I'm just going to place it in my workspace, which would be your only option on the free Power BI plan. With the report published to the web, it's now time to go create a link so that we can share it. So once you're on the Power BI website, you'll see that I have a whole list of reports. We're going to stick on this Gantt quick tip that we've just created. Along the top, you'll also see that I'm using the new Look On option, so some of the commands may appear differently for you. The obvious button to click on is Share, But that will only work if you're a pro user. Instead of sharing, we're going to publish this as a public report so that we can embed it into web pages like on the blog. This can be found under the ellipsis option and then under the embed option. We can take this link and share it with anybody who would like to see the report. So you can see the report within a blog, or you can share it via email. Now that we have this public report that anybody can access, how well does it update with new data? Well, the Power BI report uses the web data request, and so if we add information through our form and then we refresh it through Power BI, the report will update almost immediately. The automated update process occurs about hourly, and so if you do this and then you revisit the report about an hour later, you'll be able to see the updates. The link for the form and the report have both been shared on our blog, so you can go and add your own project details and then visit the report to eventually see that information show up in the Gantt report. Now, the report formatting isn't particularly great. For some reason, the scroll bar doesn't like to show up on the web version all the time. But you'll be able to filter down by the A's, B's, and C's and using the timeline to identify where the project you've added shows up at. As you can see, we've built a very simplistic project management tool that lets you input some very basic project details into an Excel workbook using a web form. That Excel workbook powers this little mini dashboard for use in evaluating how the projects are going. These Gantt charts include other features such as completion percentages and grouping that give you much more power in building useful and informational graphics. I hope you found this helpful and informational, and we'll see you again next time.